What's up, everybody? It's Pat Voss. This is the Honesty Podcast vlog series. Usually 7 days a week. I'm cutting it down to 5. Every Saturday is an interview. And, of course, Sundays starting next week is going to be the Q&A session. Amir Gray, a personal shout-out to Amir Gray for cutting the intro for that, and my father, Ed Voss, for doing the voiceover work for that. Definitely stay tuned. I can be caught at Honesty Podcast on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Pat Voss 12 on Snapchat. But I have a good guest with me today. The interview today it's the 28th of January. Welcome. Matt the Axe Brax. How you doing, Matt?
What's up, everybody? I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. And Matt and I actually met, just over a year ago.
Yeah.
We met at Fox and Hound in Schaumburg, Illinois. And we were watching UFC fight. We were watching the UFC pay-per-view. And, I had a lot of fun with you. That was a good time. And I started learning more about you, actually, as we were going through the fight. What is it that you do? Anybody that doesn't know Matt the Axe Brax, what is it that you do?
Sure. I'm a fighter. I'm looking to go pro real soon. And, I've been, fighting longer than, most of the guys that are pro. And, I probably should have been in the UFC by now for how long I've been fighting. But, I'm just sticking to the path, however fast or slow it comes, eventually I'll get there.
So with you being a fighter, and this is something you and I discussed when we first met each other, you have a 7-1 record right now, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and with that, obviously one thing leads to another. You try to get fights, either fights happen or don't happen, but we're looking for hopeful pro debut either in February or March for you. Now, what is it that you do outside of the UFC? Because obviously people that are amateur fighters that are not pro yet, they do have a day job. What is it that you do outside of the UFC, or outside of MMA?
Yeah, no, sure. That's a great question, and I'd love to talk on it. What I was doing was selling technology to investment firms, cloud computing, cybersecurity, all those buzzwords going on. But what I decided to do was start my own company, and that wasn't just something recent. That was about 5 years ago that I decided to do this. So I've been kind of developing a system for people to learn how to fight on their own time from home or wherever else, with their friends or by themselves. And so I developed a system called the Fighter Training Set. And so that's primarily what my time is focused on, between the fighter training set and trying to find more fights, things like that, fighting is my focus. So that's what I want to do. That's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to do it until I'm the best in the world and everyone realizes it. So.
I like that. And I watched some of your YouTube videos. If you look him up, Matt Brax, on YouTube, you can actually see certain videos of him fighting. And I saw one gentleman, which I'm not sure the name of the gentleman that you were fighting. It was a black guy. You had knocked him basically unconscious. He was starting to wobble right against the cage there, and then you take him down for a submission, I believe.
That was the one fight I lost. Unfortunately, I'd love to fight him again. Will Brooks, I almost choked him out. He's undefeated. He was the world heavyweight, lightweight champion of the world for Bellator for, a consecutive number of years. He just went to the UFC, won his pro debut, and I heard that he lost his last fight. But that's someone who I'd love to fight again. I let it get away from me a little bit. Funny story. I went in with some friends as my cornermen because it just didn't work out for my coaches. They had other fights going on at another place. So I'm like, don't even worry about it. I'm going to get my buddy, to do it. Well, he didn't have much training experience, right?
Okay.
So the advice I got from him when I had Will in this rear naked choke was, kill him, Brax, kill him. That's not very technical. So, he did the right things. He did the right things. I had him in the rear naked choke, and what had happened is when you're getting choked from behind, what you want to do is you want to pull this arm down. And so he pulled this arm down, and we fought, I fought back. And what I was supposed to do was take this hand and slide it up to my wrist and maintain that choke and finish that choke. But what I did instead is I had this arm right here, and I gassed out my arms, went into the next fight, broke my foot right away. And, he had some really good takedowns and ended up beating me on points. All credit to him. He's a great fighter. But Will, if you're watching this, or if you ever hear, I'm ready for another fight with you. So.
And here's the funny thing is there's two things I want to get from that, or actually a couple of things I want to get out of what you just said.
Sure.
So Will Brooks, correct?
Right.
Okay. And he made his pro debut already.
Correct.
But he beat you by decision.
Correct.
Right. Okay. So he did not knock you out or submit you.
No.
Okay. Well, that's something I'd like to share with the audience out there. And people, I need you to get that. A pro fighter went up against Matt, did not submit him or knock him out. He won by decision, and that's Matt's only loss.
Yes, that is correct. He went on to be undefeated. Actually, quite a few people, in the UFC and such came, at higher levels came up to me and said, "Man, I thought you had him. You were the closest one to beat him." And that's cool and all, but I didn't beat him. Unfortunately, I would love to, be able to actually go in there and finish that fight, but it is what it is. It was what it was. That was over 5 years ago. I've had one fight since then and just been training relentlessly since. So been focusing on technique, skill. My new thing is strength and conditioning. I've always gone into my fights, physically prepared, but always mentally sharp, and having that as my real weapon in my arsenal is the logic behind the different positions, submissions, and just the moves overall and strategy in general. And so now what I'm really focusing on is more the physical aspect of the sport. So I think that's going to bring me pretty far in my professional record here.
Well, good. And something I noticed is there's two things also that, so I can get to the point. I'm 6 feet tall. You are how tall?
I'm about 5'11".
5'11", okay.
6 foot.
So just under. But but see, we're not anymore. We're not the tall guys like we used to be. There's now teenagers that are 16 that are 6'4". But,
yeah, sure.
But
it's all the hormones in the food,
right. But my thing is that I actually had an interview. This is when Blab was around for my first show, and I'm not going to mention the name of my first show since we're on Honesty Podcast now. But my first show I was doing earlier last year, I was with Jens Pulver.
Okay.
And he's a great guy, real good guy. I believe he's the first lightweight champion.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of good things about him.
And just a great guy and a hell of an interview. I'll say that much. But my point was, for us not being the tallest of people, for smaller guys, you can never judge a book by its cover. And for you, I've seen your videos of you in the ring, and you're not the biggest guy, but you can handle yourself with ease. It seems like you have a flow to it. And I love that. And having a flow obviously is good training. So that brings up my 2 points. One, where do you train out of?
Sure. I train out of Midwest Training Center in Schaumburg. Alex Trujillo is the main coach there. And it's filled with the best guys that I've trained with, some of the best guys that I've trained with. Obviously there's some really talented guys in the Chicagoland area, but I've seen a lot of them primarily just meet up at MTC, and that's a spot for everyone to connect.
I like that. And then the second thing is not just where you train, but you did mention that you have a training set. You have a set out.
Right.
What is that? What does that consist of, and how can people find it?
Yeah, sure. So you can find it on fightertrainingset.com, www.fightertrainingset.com, right in the URL. Still working on the whole population of it for when you just search Fighter Training Set. So you've got to specifically put in www.fightertrainingset.com right in the URL. I just created some Facebook pages, etc. But essentially what it is, it's a 3-part system that teaches people how to fight, from home on their own time while getting an awesome workout. So there's a whole system for, calorie burning if that's the thing that you're into. Otherwise, it goes from step 1 all the way to step 3 with different components and pieces of equipment to train with that I manufactured, and it's just a really cool set.
Now, with that, so fightertrainingset.com, but it's www.fightertrainingset.com. That is all in the URL.
Yes, that is correct.
Now, a couple of things before I ask you the last question would be, if you could do any profession, what would it be other than MMA, other than what you do currently? What would it be? But before we get to that, obviously people know where they can reach me on, all my social media facets. They know that they can find the audio from this podcast on January 28th here. They'll be able to find it on Podbean, Stitcher Radio, and iTunes as well. But for you, where can people find you? What are the main facets to find Matt the Axe Brax?
Yeah, sure. Social media, definitely on my social media, you can add me, just Matt Brax. Otherwise, there's Facebook pages for me, that sponsors have put together and such. And then also, fightertrainingset.com has, all the information about me, mattbrax.info. So I'm out there.
Good. Good. So let's get to that final question then. If there's anything else you could be doing other than professional fighting, what would it be?
Yeah, so that's an interesting question because one of the things that I really want to do, but I just haven't been able to focus my time and energy on it, is medicine. It's funny. I actually I took some trash out for my girlfriend, and she was sleeping and such, and she didn't mention that there was glass in there. I don't think she was expecting me to take it out or whatever. I don't know what it was, but there was glass in there, right? So I went and pushed it through the glass chute, and I slid my finger right across a shard of glass. I don't know if you can see it or not.
Oh yeah,
that's healed up right there. And so it was bleeding like crazy. And so what I did was I actually came up with a new type of invention for an instant stitch. So that's going to take a lot of time and a lot of money, but eventually I'd like to see if I can find a way to bring that to market.
So you heard it here first on the Honesty Podcast, or wherever you're watching on Matt Brax's social media facets. It's the instant stitch. You heard it here first. But guys, I got to go right now. We're going to get ready to set up another great interview for next Saturday. And of course, next Saturday is Amir Tubod Gray. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Definitely hit like, comment, subscribe. And if you're on Patreon, thank you so much for being a patron. We're looking to get at least 50 to 100 patrons, even donating $1 a piece per episode for my projects. I will get bigger guests. I will have better backdrops. We'll have it set for you guys. But thank you so much, Matt, for stopping by today and sitting down for an interview.
Thank you.
All right, guys. We'll see you next week with Amir Gray.
Yeah.